And I'm going to start recording. Okay, so we're going to take a peek at our syllabus here. So this is just a link. If you click on that link, it's going to open up our syllabus. And this format is kind of the standard WCTC format. We'll run through things here so that you get a good understanding of, what to expect during this class and how your grade is made up and such. So at the top here, kind of boilerplate, this is a 3-credit course. It's 80 hours over the next 8 weeks. So that means that we have 10 hours scheduled. So we have 4 on Monday, 4 on Wednesday, and 2 on Friday. Okay, so Monday and Wednesday, I'll be broadcasting live from WCTC. You're welcome to be here in the room. Mondays are going to be in 206, and Wednesdays are going to be here in 210. Fridays will always be Zoom. Okay, now, my plan for Mondays and Wednesdays will always be going over content. Okay, so that's where I'm going to be going over practice problems. You'll understand what those mean in a little bit. Take questions, kind of, introduce you to the material so you have a good understanding of it so that once you, are ready to do the application problems or the homework, you're ready for that. Fridays, what I like to try to make work is that Fridays are work days. Okay. I can't promise that that's going to work out every single week, but that will always be my goal. All right. Meaning I won't have new information. And as long as you're caught up, you don't need to come necessarily on Fridays, but I'm there for, lab time to work on things. Okay. We will always know what Friday looks like on Wednesday. All right. I will let you know if Friday is a work day or if it's something. For instance, if we end up having a snow day and WCTC is canceled, I can't hold class when the campus is closed or they've closed because of a snow day. All right. Because there might be extenuating circumstances and you're just not able to attend. So in that case, we may lose a Monday or Wednesday. So we might have to use Friday as content. Does that make sense? So again, Wednesdays, we'll always know what Friday looks like. All right. So kind of plan for that. So what I don't want you to do is to think, oh, I don't have to attend Fridays. They're optional. Not really. Not really. Bless you. Now we're going to be meeting for 8 weeks. So we're going to start today and we're going to go until Friday, March 13th. And the times that you can see are here. So we start at 5:30 and we go till almost 9:30, technically 9:20. And then on Fridays, we start at 5:30 and go till about 7:20. Okay. As far as statics is going to be looking at external force analysis of bodies. That's really in a nutshell what it is. I'm not going to read to you this description here, but that's what we're going to be looking at, the outside of a body. The next class you're going to take, this is a prerequisite for strength of materials or solid mechanics, really the same type of a subject, except it's just the 2 different programs. That course looks internally to the material, okay? But we have to know externally what's going on first. You have to know your statics before you can look inside to the strength of the materials or the material or the mechanics of the materials. So this is a really important course. It also kind of starts off the what I like to call the design classes in the program. Okay. So you have CAD classes, if you would, and then these are the design things. Okay. Prerequisites for this class, computer programming, math are going to be our friends. Okay. As far as textbooks, there is no physical textbook that is required. There is an ebook, and we'll look in just a little bit on our left side panel in Canvas where we're going to locate that and have access to it. We will be utilizing that textbook throughout. You can get a loose leaf copy of the book for about $40 in the bookstore. Yesterday, my understanding was they had run out of copies of it. So if you did try to get it, I think they're in the process of getting that restocked. So as long as you let them know that you're interested in that, they'll contact you. That is optional. I'm a paper person. So I like to have a physical book. And because it's loose leaf, you'll have to put it into a 3-ring binder, but it's not as expensive as getting a bound book. Okay, so you get to choose if you want to do that or not. As far as other materials, you want to make sure that you have a scientific calculator. I don't care what kind of calculator you have. I don't dictate that at all, whatever you're comfortable with, but making sure that it has like the sine, cosine, tangent, the powers, logs, all that kind of stuff. Make sure that you have a pencil. I do not accept work in pen. I know you're going to be uploading it to Canvas, but this way you can erase and you can keep things neat and it's easier for me to follow. But if you're using pen and you're crossing things out, it's hard for me to kind of get through that work. So I do require that you use pencil. You'll also need a laptop or a computer with a webcam so that when we do our Zooms on Friday, that you can see what's going on. Okay. And then also internet access. Another thing that would be a good idea to have would be a flash drive. We don't utilize a lot of computer stuff in here. It's going to be mostly manual calculations that we do, but on occasion you might want to save a file or two. So flash drive would come in handy as well. Who am I? All right, I guess I didn't tell you who I am. So some of you have already had me in a class or two, but my name is Kelly Riba, and I'm going to be your instructor for the duration of our course here today. My email here at WCTC is kryba@wctc.edu, and then the phone number that I have there is my cell phone, so you can leave a message there, or you can text me at that number as well. So the fastest way, obviously, like for everybody, texting is always the fastest. But if I'm in a position where I can't get to you right away, because for instance, if you're working on things on a Tuesday or a Thursday night, I actually have Tuesday and Thursday night class, so I won't be really available to answer those questions right away. But I will get back to you as soon as possible. I always like to say, I like to respond within 48 hours. I'm usually better than that, but that's what my goal is. But if you don't hear from me, or if you need an answer sooner than that, don't hesitate to be like, hey, I'm just wondering if you can get back to me, about that, or make sure that you saw that email or that text that I sent you. And then I'll make sure that I get back to you right away. I do say here as well, I don't guarantee a response on weekends. I will respond. I just mean that I'm not going to be back to you like immediately. Depending on where I'm at and what I'm doing. It's the weekend. But I will get back to you. So don't not contact me on the weekends. And then I also say after 8 o'clock, well, I have night classes, so I will be up later than that, but sometimes I do go to bed a little bit early. So it's not that I'm ever ignoring you, but just know. But feel free to always, you can anytime outside of class, feel free to contact me if you have a question about a policy, when things are due, if you're working on homework and you're stuck a little bit and you need a little bit of help, I'm happy to work through that with you. As far as the Zoom link, like for our class, that's going to be in the course. So I'll go back to Canvas and I'll show you exactly where that is. That's just a link in there. And then as far as where my office is located, right across the hall here, it's in the administrative offices up here in this building. And there's an administrative assistant that is at the office entrance, and you can always ask if you wanted to meet with me. But basically, I work this term just nights. So I'm here from, I have classes from 5:30 till about 9:30 each night. And then office hours would be by appointment. I'm usually here at least a half hour before class starts. So if you wanted to come a little bit early and that works, that's totally good. Or we can do it after, or we can just figure out a time when it works best for both of us. Okay. So that's that. What are you going to learn in this class? So again, I'm not going to read each one of these to you. It's really about force analysis externally to bodies so that we can study what's going on externally based on forces that a body is going to see, so that we can prepare ourselves then to look internally and determine what are the appropriate materials and how much to safely function for that particular item. Here at WCTC, we have critical life skills that as you move through our programs that you are going to be, kind of polishing up as you go along. So in this particular class, we're working on kind of all four. So communication skills, you're going to be handing in work so that I can correct it and I'm going to be able to follow it. It's neat, it's orderly, that kind of thing. Critical thinking, problem solving. when you are in the mechanical design program, you are going to be experts by the time that you graduate, because so much of what we do is here's the problem, here are the variables, and now we've got to get to, the solution. And there's going to be multiple parts and multiple ways that we can look at things. So problem solving, critical thinking is really important. So we'll be doing that. Relationships, interpersonal relationships. So in this case, you might have to send an email to me, asking, for help or whatever it might be. It might be in class, working with your peers to maybe, work through a problem that you are working on. And then also self-management. That's, not only, figuring out your priorities of things that you have to do in order to get work done, but then looking not only to your class schedule, but also to your personal schedule and trying to fit in the items so that you can, get to the end of the course and be successful. Okay. So all four of these are things that we're going to be hitting. And then you're going to notice that we have program outcomes as well. So each one of our classes here at WCTC, we don't just randomly decide what we're going to teach in each one. We have to make sure that they abide by what the program, mechanical engineering technology, what their outcomes are going to be. So they align. So along the way here, we're going to be applying knowledge, technology, knowledge, technique, skills, modern tools, technology, if you would, to solve engineering problems. You're going to be applying what you know in math and science, meaning your calculus classes, your physics classes and such, to problems that are going to be solved in our course as well. You're going to be able to take those engineering technology problems and identify, analyze, and then solve, based on the information and about the concepts that we're going to be teaching. And then lastly, making sure that you demonstrate quality, timeliness, and continuous improvement in the work that you're going to be handing in. Okay, so lots of good stuff that we get to do. As far as external standards, there aren't any in this particular class. If you remember back in technical drafting, which most of you, I'm assuming, have had that course already, we were teaching you when you were learning and applying the ANSI standard for dimensioning and laying out prints. That would have been a standard, that you would have been applying. But in this class, there isn't one technically, so we don't have to worry about that. What technology and technology skills do you need for this course? So you're going to need access to a computer or a laptop that is going to be connected to a high-speed internet connection so that when we do our Zooms on Friday that you have access to that. Or if you choose to be virtually live during our Monday and or Wednesday sessions, okay? Make sure that you have a working webcam because when you come into class, my expectation is that I can physically see that you're here. If you don't have a working webcam, I can't give you credit for attendance, okay? Most of the time, and I'll let you guys know virtually as well, and it's fine if you have your cameras off at this time. When I'm recording, I usually tell people you don't have to have your camera on, and I'll usually close the box there so that I have a little bit more room on the screen. But then when we're in lab, I might ask you to pull them back up, or if I, kind of call on you in class or something like that. So when you're virtual, you're kind of like part of the group, and I don't know, you feel like more part of the class when I can see a person as opposed to just a name. Okay, so make sure you have a working webcam. Scientific calculator, as I said earlier. And then the other thing is you're going to be handing your work in on Canvas. So that's going to require you to scan your work. Now, to do that, you don't need like a desktop scanner. As we know, our smartphones, we can get an app that can scan things to a PDF, and then you can upload those documents. So we'll practice. I'll give you some, possible ways of doing that. There's more than one way to do that. And when we're ready to submit assignments, we'll kind of go over that in Canvas, okay? So you won't be handing physical paper to me. It'll always be uploaded to Canvas. And I like that because then I can't lose it, okay? And it's recorded and I can make notes on it. So it works out really nice. Any questions there technology-wise? Okay. Technology skills, really just a good understanding of navigating Canvas, Zoom, Microsoft Word, because that's going to be something that I'll kind of show you how you can hand in assignments there. And then, kind of using your phone as a scanning app. Other than that, that's about it. Okay. So, where can you get help with technology if you need it? Our WCTC service desk can help you even if you're having problems on your own device. Sometimes students think, well, it's not WCTC's. They're probably not going to help me on my own computer. I'm having problems. That's really not true. So if you're having problems opening Word or some reason you're not connecting with your Microsoft OneDrive or something like that, call them up. They'll be able to actually, point you in the right direction, at least give you some things to try, and maybe the problem will be solved. Okay, so their information, number, and email is there as well. How are you going to be graded? That's what you really want to know. So in my class, there are 3 things that you're going to be graded on. There's going to be practice problems, application problems, and exams. Okay, so practice problems. Practice problems are worth 20% of your grade. For those who have had me before, this is familiar terminology. I kind of run all my classes very similar. If you haven't had me before, you're going to love this. It's going to be great. So practice problems are going to be done during lecture. So when I'm doing demonstrations, I am not just spewing out information. We are working problems that are going to mimic what you're going to be doing in homework. So during my lecture, I like to think of it's an active learning activity. Okay. So you'll have paper, always bring paper, your calculator, pencil, because you're going to be working these problems. Those problems that we work during our lecture time are the practice problems. You will be handing those in. And what they do is like I said, they mimic the homework you're going to be handing in, not only the types of problems, but the formatting that you're going to be handing them in with. I have to be able to follow what you're doing. So you're going to know exactly what the expectations are on the homework. Okay. Because we work those problems top to bottom, from the problem statement all the way through the solution, you will have all of it, done for you during class. So by the time we're done with our lecture, and usually we spend at least 2 class times on a particular module, on a particular assignment. By the time we're done with those class times, you should be pretty darn close to just scanning and handing those in. Okay. Now, when you hand those in, you get 1 attempt to hand in. Okay. And the grade that you're going to get is either a 10 or a 0. Okay, I kind of look at those practice problems as, okay, you did all of them and they look like they're in the right format. I can, follow along and they look like they're complete. You do not get 8 points. I don't grade it like points off. It's either that's done or it's not. Okay. And you just get 1 attempt to do that. And 1 attempt because I go through it all with you guys in class. If you need to go back and watch the video because you missed something during class, you certainly may do that too. Or you can stop me while we're doing the problems and you can say, hey, slow down. Or what did you do there? Can you go back? I'm happy to do that as well. All right. So that's that. So those are practice problems. We do those together in class. Then there's application problems. Application problems, you get 2 attempts to get those in. Application problems are your homework, okay? Now, let's say we do our practice problems and you're working on the homework problems and you have some questions. Our lab time during our classes can be used for that. Or Fridays, if it's a work day, can also be used for what problems do you have on the homework? Do you want to work these together? We can definitely do that, okay? So those you get 2 attempts. All right. You get an initial submission and that I grade. Each one of the individual problems will be worth, usually I have 10 points on each one. So if there's 8 problems, it's going to be 80 points for that assignment. If it's 10 problem, it's 100 points for that assignment. So I will grade each one of the problems individually and you might get 2 points off or you might get all of them. All right. If there are any points that come off, you get 1 additional attempt to make up those points, 100% of the points. All right. Now we'll talk about late work in just a little bit because there's timing on when you need to get those in. Okay. So practice problems, 1 attempt, 0 or 10 points for the whole assignment. Application problems are going to be your homework. Those are worth 50% of your grade. Weighted larger, but you do get 2 attempts, so you get, if you would, corrections, and then we'll talk about handing those in as far as timing. Then there's a midterm and a final, and that's 30% of your grade. Those 2 tests or exams are in person only on campus. All right. I will let you know in plenty of time, like when those are going to happen, but those will be in the room here. I'm going to say proctored, if you would, and then we'll get information about when those are and such, and what the uh, process is. It is open book, open note. I know it says closed book and computers, but what I allow, because I end up sitting in the back of the room, um, as long as I can see on your computer screen, the only thing that's on there is our ebook. That's totally fine. And then it's all, your homework is open and all that kind of stuff. So we'll again talk about that as it gets closer. But anyway, so I truly believe in, I don't want you to memorize things because that's the easiest way to forget things. All right. I would much rather have you know where to look for the answers or have good references. Okay. So that's that. As far as your letter grade, this is WCTC's regular scale. So wherever your percentage kind of falls in, on Canvas, you will always know how you are doing at any particular day. All right. So check your grades often, because that's my grade book open to you. If you do notice any sort of problems or mistakes that I made, let me know right away and I'll get those corrected. Okay. When can you expect to get feedback? I say within about 3 of school days. Every day I look at what I need to correct. I try to have it done by the end of that day. So I think I turn around things pretty quickly. If I do get, like if let's say the exam, if I have 20 things to correct all at once, sometimes it might take me a little bit longer, but for the most part, within a couple days for sure, you have feedback back. Um, Attendance policy. So attendance is required and taken at each one of the classes. And like I said, you have the freedom to decide, do you want to be physically on campus? Does that work for your schedule? Or do you want to be virtual? Okay, either one of those, there isn't one that's better than the other. It's really up to you what works best. Okay. Our lecture demo is a time when you're going to gain understanding of the concepts, and I'm also going to be doing those practice problems so that you get an understanding of how the homework needs to be handed in, okay, and what the formatting will be. Okay. You can choose to be virtual. Okay. If you're unable to attend class, please notify me via email of your absence at the start of that day or before class starts. You never need to say why. Okay. I'm not looking for an explanation. I'm not going to get in your business. I promise you. But we really want to mimic what would be expected of you out in industry. If you aren't going to be coming to work, for whatever the reason is, your employer would want to know. So, and this way too, I can let you know what we'll be working on, or reference, what maybe there's a video, or I'll have the video, up for you after class. And the expectation there, if you're unable to make class, is that you find the time before the next time we get together to watch whatever recordings are out there that you would have missed. Does that make sense? Okay. We'll look at where those are located in just a little bit. And then the School of Applied Technologies has an attendance policy, okay? And it's really based on the amount of class that we have and how much you maybe would have missed. So down here, and there's a lot to read. I'm not going to go over all of it, but there is this section right down here. We're an 80-hour course, okay? So what that means is you have a maximum of 10 hours that you can miss and not have a deduction off your grade. Does that make sense? So basically a week, okay? You can miss. I don't suggest doing that, because every time we meet, I'm going to tell you, we move through this material, all right? This is one of those classes. I'm not going to say that it's impossible to do in 8 weeks, but I think it would be kind of nice to be 16 if we could, but it's just not the way that it is right now. So we get through the material, but every time we're together, we're doing something. Okay. So if you're wondering, I wonder if we're doing anything tonight. Yes, we are. We are. We're going to be going through stuff. We're going to be doing examples. We're going to do practice problems. We're going to be answering questions. And like I said, sometimes on Fridays we'll have work days, but sometimes we won't. All right. So we'll know as the week progresses how that looks. All right. Late work. Let's talk about late work. And this is something I'll be reminding us of every time we start class. I always go over the calendar, let us know where we're at on things so that we're all on the same page. So all of your practice problems and application problems are going to have a set due date. That set due date is on Fridays, okay? All of my due dates for all of my classes are on Fridays. So if you've had me for other courses, that's consistent, okay? I pick Friday for no other reason than I pick Friday. All right, that's it. It's the end of the week. I try to structure my classes so my modules are one per week. So when we work on a module earlier in the week, the homework's due at the end. Okay, so practice problems and assignments are going to be due on that Friday. Now, that's what I call the set due date. I set that date because that's convenient for me. It might not be convenient for you and your personal life. So what I offer you guys is a 7-day grace period. Okay, so what that means is you can hand in on that set due date and another 7 full days until the end of the day, the following Friday, you get full credit. Okay, so if Saturday works better for you to hand in or you want over the weekend, take it. You don't have to ask me. Okay, and I did this for one purpose. Whenever I had due dates in the past and I would say they're due on this day and I don't accept them or there's going to be a deduction, inevitably I would have somebody say, hey, I had kind of a busy week. And that's okay. I want you to ask me those things or to check on that. Could I have a couple extra days or could I have over the weekend? And I would always say, sure. But then I had to keep track of who I told that to. Okay. And not that I couldn't, but now, there was little deals being made. I don't like that. I like everybody to get the same thing. So everybody gets a 7-day grace period. Okay. What that eliminates is nobody's going to ask me for an extension because you already got 11 or you already got 7 days. Okay. Now, for practice problems, as I told you, you get one attempt. And the only time I accept practice problems are within that window of the 7-day grace period. Okay. After the 7-day grace period expires, I don't accept those practice problems anymore. They go to a 0. All right. So you're not eligible for those. But application problems, your homework, I accept till the very last day of the term. All right. They get their due date. They get a 7-day grace period. Remember, you have 2 attempts on the application problems, okay? Those 2 attempts, as long as they happen within the 7-day grace period, you get the corrections in full points during that time, okay? So for instance, let's say you hand in your application problems on that Friday, that due date. I correct them, I turn them around, and you got a couple points off. You can make the corrections for the full points back as long as it ends up getting resubmitted before the end of that 7-day grace period. If you hand in your assignment on the 7th day of the 7-day grace period, you're not guaranteed corrections, even if you had them. All right. Does that make sense to everybody? So plan ahead with your first initial submission because that way you get the corrections. Yes.
It's like the
I know. When you say, you mean the Friday that it's due?
like that they're due. Like if I submit on Friday night, what would we expect? Like that
Saturday or Sunday.
Saturday, okay.
Yeah. Like I said, I always look at my little, on my phone, I can see like by my notifications, like how many assignments, what work do you have to do? I always like to, by the end of the day, that's my goal, have everything done. So, and like I said, within 48 hours-ish, have those done. So yeah. And that's why resist the urge to hand in on that Friday of the 7th day of the 7-day grace period. Does that make sense? Because then, you do risk not getting it back quite in time. Okay. All right. But just so you know, now let's say the 7-day grace period expires and you didn't get that assignment in, the application problems in. You can still hand them in, but you're going to get a 25% deduction and no corrections, but you can still hand in till the end of the term. Okay. So it doesn't go to 0. It'll just be a reduced grade. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So they're still worth handing them in because sometimes things happen, but I don't give extensions after the 7 days. Okay, just so you know, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it, but you had 7 days. So if you tell me my internet was out on the seventh day of the 7 day grace period, doesn't fly with me. All right. You had 6 other days. All right. So if you wait till the end, you're kind of, hoping and you're planning for everything to come together. And sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Okay. And that's okay because then you just have a 25% deduction. I'm not saying that that's not a big deal, but it's just kind of how it goes. And if it's one assignment, yeah, it'll hurt your grade a little bit, but it's not going to kill it. Okay. So, and then you just learn, you move on. Okay. It's not the end of the world. The other reason I like my 7 day grace period is I hope that it stops cheating. Okay. Because this way, usually people cheat when a due date is coming, and if they don't make it, they get a 0. Okay. I would much rather you be like, oh, I've got 7 day grace period and just take the time that you need over the weekend, finish it up and get it in. Okay. And then all of a sudden, I think it takes a little bit of that stress off of feeling like you have to, that you have to get that in. All right. So questions kind of about practice problems, application problems, 7 day grace period. And I will continue to remind you guys every time we look at our calendar where we're at and when things are due. And are we in a 7 day grace period or is it expired or whatever it might be? Okay. All right. And then, like I said, watching your grade book. If you have any questions along the way, always ask. Midterm and final exams. These are one attempts. No corrections on these. They're during our scheduled in-person session. So again, they're going to be on the calendar. I do have them scheduled in right now as potentials. Okay, we'll kind of get to those dates and we'll find out within a week for sure when that's going to be. But those will be required in person. Only excused absence are considered to be eligible for a makeup. All right, make all attempts to be at that session. All right, makeup exams must be scheduled within 1 week of the exam date at an agreed upon time by you and the instructor. You are also the person who's going to initiate getting that makeup time made. I am not going to contact you. If you call in and you're sick, that's okay. All right. But then you need to schedule it within a week. If that week elapses, it goes to a 0. All right. And I'm not going to chase you down for it. All right. That's on you. Zeros will be recorded for unexcused absences and failure to schedule within that 1 week. Okay. No work is accepted after the final day of the course. I will talk to you about the latest time that I can. So you'll notice something about the assignments that I'll explain in just a little bit. Any application problems, practice problems, or exams not submitted will go to a 0 and be calculated as your final grade. This is just a note. All right. I've been teaching I think this is my 27th year teaching now. Students who attend class on a regular basis, okay, are here regularly, virtual or in person. Hand in your work by the due dates or right around those within those 7 day grace periods. Okay, as close to that as possible. You're getting A's and B's in my class. Okay, and more than likely an A. All right. But if you start falling behind or you're not getting it in on the due dates or, type of thing, the problem with an 8-week class is that, like I said earlier, we're doing something each time, each week. We build, build, build. So what we do week 1, week 2, we're still doing week 7. Okay. And if you kind of didn't take the time to master that, then it's a struggle, to try to get that. So you need to spend the time, all right, early on and keep up with things as closely as possible. Questions on that? All right. Learning environment, etiquette, expectations, and classroom behavior. We do have a WCTC student code of conduct, and that's part of your student handbook. I have a link here for you to, take a peek at that. But I just have some notes here. And again, I am not going to read through each and every one of these. So just a couple things. First of all, always be ready to work when you come to class. Okay. So make sure you've got your calculator, make sure you got your pencil, stuff out. If you're virtual, webcam on when we start class, and then I'll let you know when I want you to either turn them off or turn them on, that kind of thing. And my expectation is that you're doing that and if I call on you while we're, actively in our lecture, the expectation is that you're available. So do make sure that you're on task, during our time. Be respectful of others by refraining from chatting to other students while others are asking questions or when I'm lecturing. Okay. Stay on task with the work that we're doing here in class. Refrain from using personal electronic devices and, doing other things, even on our computers. Please don't be gaming, on our computers. They're good. They're good gaming computers. They actually are because of the software that we run. They end up being really decent, but you're distracting other people in class, believe it or not. You think you're only on your computer, but if you've ever been in a room where somebody's not doing what they're supposed to be doing, it is distracting for other people. So please don't do that. If I don't catch you, you're just not getting what you're supposed to. And again, then you're also compromising what other people are trying to learn in class as well. Um, Stay on task when we're in our lecture and lab times. Um, During our open work time, keep conversations to a low level. I don't mind if you visit with your neighbor or if you work together on things, especially like when you're working on homework. You can learn a lot from working with other people. Or if you notice somebody struggling with something, lean over and maybe help them. I mean, I'm here too, but feel free to do that. But make sure that when we are having conversations that are, off our subject of statics. I mean, you can only talk so long about forces and vectors and stuff like that. And so other stuff comes up, but the things I'd like us to keep out of the classroom are things like religion, politics, sex, race, things that are going to cause angst that, we kind of know are not good subjects to bring up, especially in a learning environment. So those types of things we'll keep at bay. Um, Feel free to ask questions whenever they come up during my lectures. I just want to let you know again, even though I am recording, it is not a production, okay? It is just a recording. So I'm taking that link and I'm uploading it. I'm not doing anything else with it. And it is great when I can capture questions that you have, in the moment. So please do that. No swearing in my class, so please kind of keep that at bay as well. When you are out in industry and you are working in a mechanical design capacity, you're going to be expected to be in a more professional environment. And I know, slang kind of gets in once in a while, but this is a good time to practice that restraint and professionalism. Okay, so please don't swear. And then always apply the golden rule. Do unto others as you would want to have done unto you. So like I said, lend a helping hand when you feel like it's necessary, or even ask for help if you feel like you need it. Not only from me, but from other people that are around you. So yeah, so that's that. Any questions on that? All right. Personal electronics devices in class, can I use them? Yes, I am not collecting any cell phones or, putting them in a basket or anything like that. I do ask if you think of it before class starts, put it on vibrate so that we don't have ringers. But if the ringer goes off, don't worry about it. I'm not gonna, it's not gonna be a big deal. If you do need to take a phone call, it happens. Just, get up, walk outside and take your phone call outside. That's totally fine. Okay. I'm not gonna, take off points or expect you to be like totally focused on me. Again, we have things in our lives, so if you need to take that, it's totally fine. And then just come back when you're ready. Other policy, course extensions. There are no extensions in my class, and it's because of the 7-day grace period. So you kind of have extensions during the course, okay? But when our course gets done, unless there's extenuating circumstances, let's say, and gosh, I hope this never happened. I did have it happen. um, a student got in a car accident like the last week of school. Well, okay, yes, I'm giving you some extra time. We're going to work together on that. As long as up until that point, you've been coming to class regularly, you've been keeping up with things, and you just had a bad thing happen or a bad week. I'm always happy to work with you on that. All right. But if you haven't been handing in and things of, we get to the end and you're like, can I have? And I'm like, no, that's it. I'm sorry. Let's take it again and we'll do better next time. It'll happen. So just making sure that again, extenuating circumstances, not as a policy. I don't extend the class. Due date extensions. Remember, everybody's getting that 7-day grace period. Okay. So no extensions beyond that. All right. Inside of our course. Communication outside of class, feel free to email me. There's my email right there. And then you can always text me at this number. Some of you are new to me, so make sure you just let me know who you are, that you're in statics class, and then ask your question, and then I'll add you as my contacts, and then we're good from there. Um, Cheating. If you're caught cheating in my class, you will be withdrawn immediately and given an F. And then you have to take the class over. The class only runs one time a year, so it's going to set you back in the program. All right. Now, what is cheating? Cheating is using somebody else's work and handing it in. Believe it or not, it's easier to catch than what you would think. All right. So just don't do it. If you're struggling with a subject, come and ask me. We don't have tutors on campus like the math lab and things like that, where there's statics people that can help you. But we do a lot of practice here during our lecture. You can ask your questions. We have work times, we have lab times. I'm here to help you. All right. But you do have to put some work in. All right. So do not get tempted to cheat. Ask questions right away. Stay on top of things. Talk to me, and we'll figure things out. All right. I also like to tell people, if you get caught cheating by me, because I honestly don't look for it. I'm not looking at everything and lining up and seeing what people write or anything like that. I'm just not. But when it starts kind of showing its ugly head, it's obvious. Okay. Because I don't look for it, because I expect everybody is paying money to be here. You want to do this as a career. You want to get as much out of it as possible. That's how I hope and, pray everybody is approaching this class. I don't look for it. And if you get caught cheating by me, you're not good at it at all. Okay. All right. The couple times I've caught people cheating over the years, I think I felt worse than what they did. I felt like I let you down. That's how I feel. All right. Don't go there. Please, please. Before you decide to cheat, come and talk to me. Even if but you said you weren't going to give me an extension. Come and talk to me first. Okay. We'll figure something out. All right. Outside of class work, the hours that we have for this class are 10 hours a week. That's a chunk of time. All right. But that won't be enough time to get done with the work that I have assigned for you, so that you can build the skills and the knowledge to be able to take it then to the next course, like we had talked about strength and materials. So you can expect anywhere from 2 to 3 hours per hour of class time. So that means 20 to 30 hours additionally to this. Do I think that you're going to do that every week? Probably not, but sometimes you will. Okay. I will tell you something that I do in statics, and I feel it's really important. You guys need repetition on this. All right. So there's a lot of problems that you're going to be doing each module for me. And you're going to find it helps you to be like this with the statics, because when you're in your solid mechanics or your strength and materials class, you got to do the statics first. When you're in machine design elements, you got to do the statics first. It's got to be like this. All right. So that means we've got to work on it, and it means doing problems and getting different takes on things. So there is going to be outside work. Don't expect to finish it when you're just in class here. All right. Virtual Zooms. You must have your webcam cam working. And again, you get to choose. So you don't have to say, I'm a Monday and Wednesday in-class person and I'm a virtual person. You can be one or the other whenever it works best for you. You can be virtual on Mondays and in person on Tuesday or on Thursday, or I'm sorry, Wednesdays. You can be virtual all the time, except when we have our tests. You can be in class all the time, except on Fridays. So, all right. So you get to decide how it works best for you. All right. I do encourage everybody, even if you're like, no, I'm an in-person person, make sure, because of Fridays, that you at least get the experience of being virtual, because in the event, and this happened last year, where there was snow predicted, in a couple days. And I said, you know what? We're going to do our Wednesday virtually. Okay. And that way we didn't have to worry about being here during the snow and all that kind of stuff. Okay. So that happens at times. And that's also, I want to let you know, make sure that you check your email daily. Before you come out here, I would check your email because if there is an announcement where I'm like, okay, I can get sick too, and I might have to cancel class. It does not happen often or hardly ever, but it can happen. If I need to cancel class, that's the way that I get a hold of you. Check your email. All right. Any other classes that you have with other instructors, very same thing. Check your email because the worst thing would be getting out here, depending on where you live, and then, oh, Kelly canceled class. And then you look at your email, oh, it was there. So I always try to do it as early as possible. Or if I have to switch gears and make it a virtual class, okay? I want to make sure that everybody knows. So make sure you check your email before you come to class. And then the last part here are just kind of boilerplate items that we have as far as WCTC. And then this is just a kind of a schedule. We have 8 weeks, we have 7 modules, about a module a week is how we run things. Okay. So syllabus wise, any questions at the moment? Yes, Deborah.
So on your syllabus, it shows that the midterm is week 5, but on the calendar, it's showing 4.
Yeah, that could be. That could be. I know. That's why I don't like okay, my associate dean. They like us to have this on our syllabus. So this gets done. Well, when did I send it out? I opened up the class a week and a half before the class starts. Then I do my calendar once I kind of know when the, different things are. So it might shift just a little bit. So whatever's on the calendar in Canvas is like what we're doing. This is kind of a like nice to know. Does that make sense? So yeah, this one is this one's just nice to be here to check a box. But my calendar, and we'll always know each time that we meet what we're doing. Okay. Thank you for catching that. Any other questions before we run over to Canvas? Okay. All right. Then let me go over, let's look at our Canvas and kind of see how things are formatted here. So over on the left-hand side, this is kind of where, all the main elements are. So we talked about home, announcements, and syllabus. Just down below here is the Zoom link. So for those who are virtual, you already figured this out. You're going to click on that Zoom link. Maybe you've done it for other courses as well. And then you're going to kind of follow the prompt to get in. There'll be a waiting room. And then when I open up the class, then everybody's in. So you might be waiting for a little bit depending on when, I start the class. Okay. So sometimes it's 10 minutes before, sometimes it's 5 minutes before, it just kind of depends. But don't think, oh my gosh, where's Kelly? I'll be there. I promise. Then the next one down is going to be modules. And this is really where, kind of everything is, if you would, for each one of the weeks that we're going to be together. Up at the top here, the McGraw-Hill Connect resources. This just says student video to get in. It's just kind of a brief video letting you know how to connect your book if you haven't done so yet. The book is over on the left-hand side, just below modules. There's the McGraw-Hill Connect. That's where you're going to get your book. I want to make sure everybody has access to that. Some people have already confirmed that, but before you leave today, you want to make sure that you can get in there and get access to that textbook. The next section that we have here is session recordings by date. So this is where tonight I will be after class is done. So after I end my Zoom session, when we're done with class, after the last person is logged off, then it's going to post-process the recording of the videos that I've been making this evening. I will post those after class tonight. Okay. And those are going to be by date in that location. So then you'll see, the next day, the next day, the next day. So this is going to populate and get longer as the term goes on. Okay. Then when we go down here, this is our first module. So tonight we will be looking at this. This is just an introduction to statics and a math review. The first section here is going to be our learning plan. So this just tells us what we're going to be doing here in module 1. So it says we're going to attend the lecture demo for this module, read chapter 1 in your textbook, okay, and then click on the McGraw-Hill resource folder. And then you're going to be submitting practice problems and application problems for this module, okay? Those practice problems and application problems are found in the module down below here. They're usually indented just a little bit, okay? Now, before we get down to those, you're going to notice that I also have a Module 1 session recordings. So I'm going to have the same recordings up here on the session recordings by date, because sometimes, let's say it's the middle of the term, and you're like, were we working on module 4 or module 5? And which videos did I see? This way, I found students like when, if they don't make it to class or they're, and they just want to go right to the day, you can click there and now the videos are there from just that day. And now you know exactly what you need to catch up on, okay? Rather than trying to figure out down here. But I do have them here as well listed. I will populate for this year. But you're going to notice that last year's videos are also out here. So I've had students that are like, I'm going to be going on vacation. I'm not going to be here on Wednesday. You can watch the videos because last year it was the same stuff that we did that we're going to be doing this year. Okay. So, so those are out there for your reference as well. Or if you're like, gosh, that was a great lecture Kelly did. I want to see another one. Let's go look at last year's. And then there's even 2024 in there. So, I know. No, I don't expect that. If you're having a hard time sleeping, that's when you watch Kelly's videos. Those are gonna put you right to sleep. All right. And then here are practice problems. So the practice problems are going to be basically a list of the examples that we're going to do in class. Tonight is going to be a little different. We're not going to be doing the textbook. There's going to be like a set of problems that we're going to be going over, and we'll be working through these a little bit later. So you'll be handing these in and knowing what to do. Those are going to mimic the application problems that you have. And then here is a link for the application problems. Again, another list that looks similar to the practice problems that you'll be handing in for me for the assignment for Module 1. Now, once we have our assignments, you want to know, okay, when are these due? You'll notice that the due date is going to be directly below them here, but I think the nicer place to look is on our calendar. So if you go out further to the left, you're going to have a calendar. Now, this calendar is for Canvas overall. So if you have other courses, you can click on and off courses that you have here, okay? So if you have 2 classes, you might see if the instructor uses the calendar function, like I do, you might see other things populated in here, but you can toggle those on and off. So I can go down to my technical statics and I can turn that on and off. Now, what you'll notice is on any given day, this is going to be the list of the things that we're going to do. So if you hover over this was our course overview. This is going to be lecture. I just have the lecture here in the room. So we're in 210, and then we're going to be working on Module 1. Okay. Now, over on the right-hand side, it tells you that we have a virtual lecture that day. And then you're going to notice there's kind of like a tablet with a little pencil. Those are assignments. Okay. So you've got Module 1 application problems are due on Friday, and so are the practice problems. Now, that's the set due date when we see it on the calendar. You have an additional 7-day grace period. So technically for full credit, you can get them in by the end of the day next week, Friday on the 30th. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay. So, I'm going to get you prepared for that tonight, and then we'll discuss what Friday will look like. Okay. So, and then you're going to notice that that same format is going to be for the next week. So we've got module, 4, module 5, module 6, you have those assignments that are due there. All right. Whenever I start the class and when I end the class, we start on the calendar and we end on the calendar, and we know exactly where we are for, that day and going forward. All right. And then you can ask any questions. Sometimes I may have to change things up a little bit. And then Deborah had mentioned earlier, you'll notice right now scheduled, this is where I have our midterm is on February 11th. Okay, so tentatively planned, we will know for sure where that lands. For instance, if I'm like, doesn't feel like I got through the material, or I went a little fast in module 3, and I want to make sure you guys know this, I might take an extra day and move that back in your favor. I will never move things like that up. Does that make sense? Okay. So, so right now that's where it looks like it fits, but it might move. Okay. if we need to. Um, so that's the calendar. Any questions on that? The calendar is always outside our course, so I have to go back into our course. So I go back to technical statics. So we looked at the modules and then the McGraw-Hill. This is going to be your textbook. You're going to click on that link and then you should see a go to my connect, okay, section. And when you click on that, it might say you've got to create an account or something. Just follow those prompts and do that. Make sure if it's asking for an email or anything that you use your WCTC email. Don't use a personal email, okay? And then for me, my textbook is down here and it says launch ebook. So again, yours might look a little different because you're a student. Okay. So, and then we'll reference whatever chapters we need to when we need to. All right. Is there anybody having any difficulties getting into the textbook? Okay. Because I paired it for the first time by myself this year. And I'm like, okay, I hope that went okay. It seemed like it did. So, all right. Excellent. Then down below the McGraw-Hill Connect, you're going to notice this is where your grades are. I am not going to click on the grades because when I click on grades, everybody's is shown. All right. And not that anybody handed anything in yet, but there's names and numbers and stuff that I can't really show everybody. So when you click on your grades, that's how you're going to know how you're doing in the class at any given time. All right. If you notice any discrepancies ever, let me know and we can work through that. And then assignments, those are actually populated in the module. I think they're easier to find in the modules, but that's just a running list of all the assignments that are in the class. So if you like looking there instead and finding, that's totally fine. Course evaluation, that'll populate and be available at the end of the course. We do like your feedback. And I don't know, there might be some other things along the side there that we aren't really going to be using. Modules, Zoom, announcements, Connect, those are going to be the things that you're going to be using most often. So with that, are there any questions? Okay. I'm going to pull the chat out. If anybody has any questions, those who are virtual, you can always put in the chat here. Or like I said, you can audibly ask me. Okay. Doesn't sound like there are any questions right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording.